If you told me 2 months ago that my wife would destroy our marriage in the span of a single night out, I would have laughed in your face. Sophie was never the club type. She was the church on Sunday, volunteer at the library type. The kind of woman who still wrote thank you cards by hand. She didn't like loud music, didn't drink much, and usually rolled her eyes when her coworkers invited her out after work. So when she mentioned, almost casually, that she was going to just check out this new lounge downtown with a couple of friends from her office, I didn't think twice. Don't wait up, she'd said with that gentle smile I used to think was just for me. The place was called Ember Lounge. I'd never been there, but I knew it by reputation: dim lighting, velvet booths, bass-heavy music. The kind of spot where people pretended they weren't looking for trouble, while absolutely looking for trouble. She left in a black dress I hadn't seen before, one that made me pause at the door. New? I asked. Oh, just something I had tucked away, she said, breezing past the question. I didn't know it then, but while I was heating up leftovers and watching the late-night news, Sophie was sliding into a booth with a man who would, within weeks, become her secret. Her escape. Her lover. What I didn't know, what I felt, even before the evidence, was that something shifted that night. When she came home at 2:40 a.m., hair tousled, perfume heavier than usual, there was a glint in her eyes that didn't belong to me anymore. I didn't ask questions. Not yet. But I would. And the answers would make sure our marriage never saw another anniversary. The morning after Ember Lounge, Sophie was different. Not in a hungover and tired kind of way, though her voice was scratchy and she downed 2 cups of coffee like medicine. No, this was subtler. She was quiet, distracted, like she had a song stuck in her head that she didn't want me to hear. We'd always had this routine. Saturday mornings were our mornings. I'd make pancakes, she'd flip through the church bulletin, and we'd talk about little things: what to fix in the house, who we needed to call, what our daughter had done that week that made us laugh. But that morning, Sophie's phone was never more than an arm's length away. Every few minutes the screen would light up, and she'd glance at it with this faint, involuntary smile. Then she'd tilt it slightly away from me before replying with quick taps. You seem in a good mood, I said casually, pouring syrup over my plate. She looked up, almost startled. What? Oh yeah, just thinking about something funny from last night. Something in the way she said it, light but guarded, didn't match. I told myself I was being paranoid. That it was nothing. But paranoia has a way of sharpening your vision. Over the next week, little things kept catching my eye. The way she lingered in front of the mirror before work, reapplying lipstick she never used to wear. The sudden late, team meetings, that made her get home just after 10 p.m. The way her phone was suddenly on silent all the time, as if the sound itself might betray her. And then came Thursday night. She claimed she was going out with the girls, again, a phrase that had started popping up more often lately. But when I walked past the hallway mirror as she left, I saw it. That same black dress from Ember Lounge. It hit me like a whisper I didn't want to hear. She was dressing for someone. And I was starting to suspect it wasn't me. Thursday night turned into Friday morning before Sophie came home. 3:07 a.m. I remember because I checked the clock as soon as I heard the deadbolt turn. I stayed in bed, pretending to be asleep, but my mind was racing. She tiptoed in, but the scent hit me before she even reached the bedroom, a musky cologne I didn't own, wrapped in the faint tang of alcohol. The next day, while she was in the shower, I went to grab a towel from the laundry basket. That's when I saw it. Her black dress, crumpled on top of her work clothes, smelled like the same cologne, stronger now that it wasn't masked by her perfume. I picked it up, my hands almost trembling, and felt something in the pocket. A matchbook. Black, embossed with gold lettering, Ember Lounge. Inside, a single handwritten phone number with a name underneath. Daniel. The way my chest tightened, you'd think I'd just run a mile. I stared at that matchbook like it was a loaded gun. I could have put it back. Pretended I never saw it. But the truth has a way of burning through the walls you try to build around it. That evening, I tested the waters. "How was girls' night?" I asked over dinner. She didn't even blink. "Good. We went to that wine bar I told you about. Not Ember Lounge. Not even close." And just like that, the matchbook in my pocket went from evidence to confirmation. She wasn't just slipping away. She was lying. Once you know someone is lying to you, every excuse they make sounds like a cover story. By the next week, Sophie had another team drinks night planned. She didn't know I'd already shifted my schedule at work, leaving early so I could get ahead of her. I parked 2 blocks from Ember Lounge, the matchbook still sitting in my glove compartment like a reminder of what I was looking for. At 8:47 p.m. I saw her. Same black dress. Hair curled in a way she only did for special occasions. She wasn't alone. A tall guy in a navy blazer walked beside her, head tilted toward hers like they were sharing secrets. I didn't need to guess who he was, Daniel. They went inside, the low thump of bass spilling out as the door opened. I waited 5 minutes, then slipped in behind them. The place was just as I imagined, dim, intimate, the air thick with perfume and expensive whiskey. I found a spot near the bar where I could see them without being seen. They weren't sitting across from each other like colleagues. They were side by side in a half-moon booth, knees touching, the glow from the red pendant light catching on her smile, the kind of smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. He leaned in, said something that made her laugh softly, her hand brushing his arm. Then, without hesitation, his hand slid onto her thigh under the table. She didn't move it away. That was it. No more. Maybe I'm overthinking this. No more benefit of the doubt. The wife I thought I knew was in that booth, looking like she belonged to someone else. I walked out before she could see me. I didn't trust myself to stay. But I knew one thing: the next time she lied to my face, I'd be ready. 2 nights later, Sophie came home just after midnight. Hair perfect, lipstick faded, and that faint trace of cologne clinging to her like a shadow. I was sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open but unread. She froze when she saw me. "You're still up?" she asked, dropping her purse a little too quickly. "Couldn't sleep," I said. "How was the wine bar?" Her eyes didn't flicker. "Good. We stayed late." Tanya had a lot to get off her chest. Tanya! Her mythical, girls' night. Alibi. I could almost hear the ice cracking beneath her words. I closed the laptop and leaned forward, elbows on the table. Interesting. I didn't realize Ember Lounge served wine flights. Her breath caught, just for a split second, but enough. "What are you talking about?" I reached into the drawer beside me and slid the matchbook across the table. "Found this in your dress pocket last week. I was there on Thursday. Saw you? With him." Color drained from her face. "You followed me?" "I confirmed what I already knew," I said quietly. "The lies. The nights out. The man whose hand you didn't push away." She opened her mouth, closed it again, and then tried the one thing cheaters always reach for when the walls close in. "It's not what you think." I laughed once, cold, humorless. "Then tell me what I think, Sophie." Because from where I was standing, it looked exactly like a wife in a club, letting another man touch her like she's his. Her silence was answer enough. If there's one thing I learned in those weeks, it's that Sophie was a creature of habit, even in her deceit. Thursday nights had become their nights. And if you know the pattern, you can set the trap. I waited until the next one. She gave the same tired excuse. "Late meeting, might grab drinks after." Kissed me on the cheek like we were still us, and left in that black dress like it was her uniform. But I didn't go to Ember Lounge this time. I went to the parking garage across the street. From the top level, I had a clear view of the club's glass front entrance. At 9:12 p.m, she arrived with him. Daniel. His hand was at the small of her back like it belonged there. They didn't hesitate at the door. Inside, they disappeared into that velvet darkness. I waited. Patience was everything. At 10:45, they emerged, laughing, leaning into each other like the rest of the world didn't exist. Instead of heading for the street, they turned toward the hotel entrance next door. That was it. I got out of my car, crossed the street, and walked in right behind them. The lobby lighting was unforgiving. She couldn't miss me when she glanced back. Her smile evaporated. Daniel turned, confused. Sophie. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't make a scene. Just walked up and said, "Hope you booked a nice room. I hear it's good for short stays." She stammered something. An apology? An explanation? I couldn't tell. Daniel stepped back like the air had turned toxic. "You didn't tell me you were married," he said, voice sharp now. I held his gaze. She didn't tell me a lot of things either. For a moment, all three of us stood there in the harsh light, the truth hanging heavier than any shout could. Then I left, not running, not looking back, just letting them stand in the wreckage they built together. I was home before she was. I made coffee, not because I wanted it, but because I needed something to do with my hands while I waited. It was nearly midnight when I heard her car in the driveway. The front door opened slowly, like she thought moving quiet enough might make me disappear. She stepped inside, mascara smudged, her clutch dangling from one limp hand. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice trembling. "No," I said evenly. "We can't. Not tonight." She tried to step further in, but I pointed at the hallway. "Your bag is in there. I packed the essentials. The rest you can get later." Her lip trembled. "You're kicking me out?" Over the man you were about to take upstairs at a hotel." I cut in. "Over the weeks of lying to my face. Over the fact that the woman I married doesn't exist anymore." "I made a mistake," she whispered. I took a slow sip of coffee. "Mistakes are tripping over the rug. What you've been doing is a routine." She tried again, walking toward me like she could soften the moment with proximity. "We can fix this." I stepped back. "We? Sophie, you broke it. And I don't want to glue together something that's been rotting from the inside." The silence stretched, heavy and final. She finally grabbed the bag and walked to the door. Her hand lingered on the knob like she thought I'd stop her. I didn't. The lock clicked behind her, and for the first time in weeks, the air in the house felt clean. The first 2 days after I locked her out were blissfully quiet. No calls, no texts, no unexpected knocks at the door. I let myself believe she'd accepted it. Then the dam broke. It started with a flood of messages. "I miss you. I'm sorry. Please just talk to me." By day 3, she'd escalated to calling every hour. If I didn't answer, she'd leave voicemails, some tearful, some angry, all exhausting. When that didn't work, she showed up at my job. I was walking back from lunch when I saw her standing outside the building, holding a paper bag like it was a peace offering. "I brought your favorite sandwich," she said, voice brittle. "I'm not hungry," I told her, stepping past. Her eyes followed me, sharp now. "So that's it? You're just done?" "Yes," I said without slowing down. That night she tried the guilt route, long paragraphs about throwing away years, and what we could still have. She even threw in the line cheaters seemed to keep in their back pocket. It didn't mean anything. I didn't reply. By the end of the week, her tone had shifted again, this time to bitterness. The last text I got before blocking her was, "You'll regret this when you realize no one will love you like I did." I remember setting the phone down, smiling faintly. If what she gave me was love, I'd take solitude any day. It was a rainy Sunday when she tried one more time. I was coming back from the grocery store, juggling a bag of coffee and a carton of eggs, when I saw her leaning against my porch railing. She looked worn. Makeup barely hiding the dark circles, hair frizzed from the damp air. Not the polished woman who used to leave for girls' night in that black dress. "I just want to talk," she said as I walked up the steps. I didn't unlock the door. "We've already said everything that matters." She shook her head, stepping closer. "No, you yelled and you shut me out." I need you to hear me now. I set the groceries down and crossed my arms. Fine. Talk. Her voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Daniel was just attention I wasn't getting from you. I thought it was harmless at first. I almost laughed. Harmless? Sophie, you lied for weeks. You let another man put his hands on you. You planned nights with him while telling me you were somewhere else. She bit her lip, eyes glistening. I didn't realize what I had until you got caught. I finished. The rain pattered between us, filling the silence. She looked like she was waiting for me to soften, to let her in. I picked up the groceries. You need to go. And stop coming here. There's nothing left to fix. Her tears finally spilled, but I turned the key and stepped inside without another word. Through the window, I watched her walk down the street alone, swallowed by the drizzle. Weeks turned into months, and the noise of her absence faded into something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. No more late nights wondering where she was. No more looking at my phone with a knot in my stomach. The house was quieter, cleaner, lighter somehow. I poured myself into work, into small routines that were mine alone. Saturday mornings became my ritual again, pancakes and coffee, but this time with music playing instead of guarded conversations. Through the grapevine, I heard bits about her. She and Daniel didn't last. Apparently he wasn't looking for anything serious. She'd moved into a smaller apartment, picked up more shifts at work. And according to one mutual friend, she'd started going out less, dressing down, keeping her head low. I didn't gloat. There was no satisfaction in it. Because by then, I'd realized something important. I hadn't lost the woman I married that night in Amber Lounge. I'd already lost her long before, the moment she decided my trust was worth trading for a stranger's attention. Cheating doesn't just end relationships, it rewrites them. All the good memories? They get edited by what you learn later. Every "I love you" feels like it came with an asterisk you didn't notice at the time. I kept the matchbook for a while, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder. Eventually, I threw it away. I didn't need proof anymore. The real closure came one quiet morning, coffee in hand, looking out the window at the sunrise. It wasn't about her leaving. It was about me finally letting her go.